Kevin Warsh, who has been nominated by Trump as the next Fed chairman to take over in May 26. Some people perceive him as hawkish, i.e., he will not cut rates as quickly as some people hope, which means if you don't cut rate as quickly as we expect, this may not support the Bitcoin price increase. Those are some of the headwinds I hear about and I see, but I would like to emphasize one thing. Kevin Warsh, the new Fed chairman nominated Robin, has made very positive public comments about Bitcoin, orally and in writing. He said Bitcoin is a great store of value. Bitcoin is digital gold. He claimed this, and he's very supportive. What he did say, on the other hand, he said, I don't think Bitcoin will be a monetary money of exchange in the future because of the volatility. I personally think the point of Bitcoin becoming a money of exchange is not a priority today. Let us build the store of value story. Let us get adoption to store of value, and then we see what happens in the future. So those are, I would say, the four headwinds: AI commodities, quantum, Clarity Act, and the Fed chairman.
I love that. I want to emphasize one on the Fed chair a little bit, because I think it's really hard for a Fed chair to say that Bitcoin will eventually replace the dollar, like be a monetary asset and be a currency and all of that. So him even recognizing Bitcoin and being very positive against Bitcoin is, for me, a major step. It's like a huge thing that is positive for Bitcoin, and was an understatement. Like, the market didn't really realize that. I feel like the market didn't really price that in, because we now have someone that is positive for Bitcoin. He has a Fed chair soon. Soon we have him. So that's amazing for me. Of course, that the Fed chair doesn't say, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin will be the money of the future." That is still a few years out, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the fact that he made positive statement is, as you said, extremely positive.
And I think there's one more thing about regulation. I want to get your take on that, because a lot of Bitcoiners view regulations around Bitcoin very negatively. They think regulations in general is bad, and we should not have the state interfere with Bitcoin too much. And the more I study the markets, the more I study what's actually going on, I feel like that we actually need a lot more regulation, because regulation clarity means that big investors, institutional investors, and a lot of capital can actually flow into the asset. Is that something? Is that also how you look at the Clarity Act and other regulations coming to Bitcoin to make it easier for big money to come into Bitcoin? Is that kind of the main point?
100%. And if we step back a bit and we discuss what is the role of Wall Street and regulations within the Bitcoin world, I think the arrival of Wall Street is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it opens the gates for potentially trillions of dollars coming into Bitcoin. And we saw that with the very high success of Bitcoin ETFs, IBIT specifically, reaching $100 billion a couple of months ago, and now down to 50 because of the Bitcoin price decline. So Wall Street brought a lot of money. It shows the asset is maturing. It reassures investors. Many pension funds, institutions, sovereign wealth fund will only invest through ETFs and not through self-custody like other people do. That's the positive thing. The negative thing is potential price suppression through paper Bitcoin, which basically is derivatives, futures, and options, which is a synthetic way of you owning Bitcoin without really owning the assets. Now, people say there is a paper Bitcoin driven by Wall Street suppressing the price? To be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know. However, the regulation coming up with a market structure will very much reduce the impact of the paper Bitcoin suppressing the price and will help Bitcoin price in the future. And regulation is very much required because today, for example, the biggest exchange is Binance by far. And if you see what they can do outside the US because there is no regulation, versus what Coinbase does, a lot of the effect on price of Bitcoin is very much triggered by Binance. So we all hope that with the Clarity Act going through, this will reassure investors and will help bring better, I would say, control on the price of the asset.
I like that. Is there? I want to double click on the paper Bitcoin because so many people think about, for example, strategy. Strategy has been buying a lot of Bitcoin in 2026. I think they are on track to buy around 900 Bitcoin a day so far in 2026, which is like crazy, that amount of Bitcoin, which is also a lot more than they have bought in the past. So they actually accelerate in buying Bitcoin now, even in a bear market with less excitement. And there's a lot of institutional buyers in the market, and we hear those people buying. But then people see the price crashing down from like over 100K to now like under 70K or wherever we are. And people are like, oh, the price is suppressed, and like we have this paper Bitcoin. Is there at any point a concern of you that we have paper Bitcoin, or is like other differently asked, would you think at any point, or what has to happen for you to be concerned that there is something like paper Bitcoin, or how do we kind of avoid that happening with more and more institutions holding Bitcoin?
I think paper Bitcoin can suppress the price up to a point. They cannot do it forever. There is a point where actual purchase of the asset by long-term holders, be it banks, institutions, family offices, governments, will take over, and then the price will start gradually going up. So I think just it's a matter of time, and we need to have regulation. Today there is no regulation in the market. And the lack of regulation is somehow potentially opening the opportunity for paper Bitcoin suppressing the price. Some people tell you this is not occurring at all. Some people tell you it's occurring. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm not an expert in this field. However, one fact to recognize about Wall Street coming in, if you look at what happened in 25, who were the sellers in 25? Retail investors were the sellers in 25, not institutions. 99% of institutions which bought into Bitcoin through ETFs did not sell. That's a fact. 700,000 Bitcoins were sold by retail investors in 25. Those 700s were purchased by institutions, by funds, pension funds, and governments. So the Bitcoin is moving from what we call weak hands, which can easily sell, to diamond's hands, because when an institution or a fund or a pension fund decides to invest into an asset, they do take a long time. They have multiple committees, multiple meetings, many smart men and women debating it. But once they go in, they do hold for a long time. And therefore, I think institutions coming in was a great support for the price in 25. If not, we would have experienced, I would say, very tough bear markets with all the selling by retail investors. And moving forward, I think we will see a gradual price increase of Bitcoin, not in the thousands of percentage like in the past. We will see, I estimate, an ARR at 20 to 30% the next 10 years, with some very strong years, some maybe negative years, will still evolve at 40% potential downward, but the diamond holders, the institutions, will secure stronger base of the price moving forward.
So kind of I think Jordi Visser was writing about that in 2025, the silent IPO moment. I think you're aware of that?
Yeah, of course. I read the article. This article circulated so widely across many people. It was a very well written article. And we did relate to that. Yes. 100K was, I would say, a trigger point for many people who did hold for such a long time.
Yeah, also we had the laser eyes always, the community aspect of laser eyes to 100K. So I think everyone was very much focused on that one number. And then once we reached it, people are like, okay, I can liquidate now some Bitcoin. I can fulfill my dreams. I can buy this or that. Like, I think it's a very natural thing actually to do for people that maybe have held Bitcoin and never sold one since $2,000, maybe under $1,000 or maybe under $10,000. I think it's just like very natural and human to actually do that. And I think that's what we kind of saw in 2025 from the individuals. I think you said like 700 or 600,000 Bitcoin have changed hands from individuals to institutions, ETFs and all of that, which is, I think, a natural progression and very organic of Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, to be honest, moving forward, I expect a lot of the buying, Robin, and a lot of the support of the price coming from institutions and not anymore from retail investors. Frankly, retail investors who wanted to come in, they came in the past. Today, if you go and ask around you, retail investors, do you want to get an asset which can give you 20 to 30% ARR per year the next 10 years with a 40% vol? Or you prefer to put money into the S&P, which is giving you 8 to 9% and a much lower volatility? 95% of people will go to the S&P. Very few people are like you and me, willing to stomach, and they have the nerves to accept this bear market and to see your portfolio cut in half from $126 to $60,000 price of Bitcoin. However, I think retail investors will come in through MicroStrategy products, precisely the STRC. If you say to your friends and to retail investors, do you want to have a product which gives you 10 to 11% per year, very liquid, no volatility, tradable as an ETF? Would you want to invest in it? And I think the majority of people will get into it. Today, we have like $5.5 billion invested into STRC. I think there will be a lot of demand for this product. I know people who invested into STRC for the yield, but they did not buy into Bitcoin. So I think this is a great way to get investors in the future. And the same now, Stripe is offering the same thing, as you know, with their product called SATA, SATA. SATA is offering even 12%. So those, I would say, digital credit products will be a great way in the future to support Bitcoin price and to get more retail investors on board.
And I love that you brought the point up, because I think this is very much what's happening. When I told my non-Bitcoiners friends about this new thing, because I told them, yeah, like I'm also researching now strategy and all of that, and they're like, oh, what they're doing. And then I told them, just like, by the way, they're doing this stretched product, which gives you like 11% yield per year, and they keep it at like around $100 for you. And they have, I think now, like a 7% volatility, or like very low volatility actually for such an early product. I'm very impressed by how low the volatility is right now. The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relay to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks or anything else. This is a tool, an app that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relay, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called micro-seed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With micro-seed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io.